This episode is brought to you by Jing's Mortgage Team. Jing's Mortgage Team is a team of real estate mortgage professionals whose mission is to help anyone with their real estate needs. If you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, refinance your home, have credit issues, or in need of an investment loan, we can definitely help you. If you're looking for a real estate agent, we know the best of the best real estate agents. Visit the link below for more information. For being on our show today, Secret Sauce with Hamilton Lau. I am honored and happy that you agreed to come on the show and
thank you for
inviting one of our guests.
Yeah,
and for our listeners, Jim is very important to share his story with our listeners in the world because Jim lives the entrepreneurial lifestyle.
Absolutely.
He embodies it. He lives his life with all these great business strategies, and he's been through ups, he's been through downs, whether it be business successes, business failures, physical successes, physical failures, and he has bounced back, from it time and time again. And it's an amazing story. I'm so happy and honored for you to be here, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, but I want to definitely peel the curtain back a little bit about the person, Jim Mcintosh.
Yes.
How did you get to where you are? What happened that led you to your hardship? How did you overcome it? That's the goal of this podcast. So, Jim, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am the broker owner of Complete Home Realty, but that's where I am now. But my journey has been long. It hasn't been easy. I'm the oldest of six. There's 4 boys, 2 girls. Mom and dad, raised in a house with mom and dad. When you have 6 people in the house, it's very difficult, or really it was 8 people with 6 kids, because you have to try to find your identity. You have to be, find out who you are, as a person, and so that was a lot of the process. There was always, a lot of people around. And there's a lot of people around. You've got to share yourself with those people, but also your parents got to share yourself with those people also. So you end up a lot of times, with your own self, with your own thoughts, with your own feelings, and so you have to just kind of set your own path. And I was always very driven. I was always very astute. I was from an early age. I could count money at the age of 4. My mom would say, "Well, did you see where I put the rent money?" And I could tell exactly where she put it, where she hid it, or it's under the sofa. And she'd go and she'd look for it, and I'd say, "Yeah, that's where it was." And like I said, none of us went to kindergarten. We were all like home taught. We could all read by 4, 5 because
And you were the oldest.
I'm the oldest. Yes, I'm the oldest boy. So yes, so I had to be a leader from the beginning. I always had a lot of responsibility. I could cook from the age of 6. We used to do laundry. We did everything. We had to learn how to do everything because my mom and my dad. My dad was always working. He worked for the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom until we were all like in our late teens. And she went back to work, and she worked for the Board of Education for 25 years.
Oh wow, your mother was a teacher.
No, she worked for the Board of Education in the Department of Telecommunications.
Oh.
So all the phone system for all 5 boroughs, she was the lady in charge of that. So if they had a problem, they would call her and set up the phones, all the communications, all the wiring. She was the person in charge of all that for a long time.
It makes a lot of sense because for those of you who don't know, Jim skipped 2 grades during his time in public school.
Correct.
And as a public school teacher myself, I can attest that when you can skip a grade, it's not just because the child is intelligent, but definitely you need to have a bunch of people involved that are in agreement and that can advocate for the child. Right. So whether it be the school or in this case it seemed like your parents, who were constantly advocating for it, and gave you an amazing leg up.
Yeah, my mom was always on top of us, like getting 100 wasn't just enough. It was always if you got like a 90 or something, like what's wrong with you? It was 100. It was A's. It was always top grades because that was going to be our way out of the community. I mean, we lived in the suburbs. We lived in Springfield Gardens, but it still was. We were middle class. Well, we didn't think that we were, But then, we saw some of our friends and other families that used to come to the house. They were poor. I mean, they didn't have food to eat. They would come to our house to eat. We had a pool. Nobody else had a pool, and at that time. So, we had a lot of other things that people had, and there were 6 of us.
Would you say that the idea of not just settling for 90, but shooting for that 100 or 105, would you say that that's something that that has instilled that foundation, that business mentality?
Sure. Well, you just never give up. You're always shooting for the best. But that's a gift and a curse, because sometimes you become your own worst enemy. I was always an A-type person. I was always driven, always looking to I expect the best for myself, because that's what I knew was going to be expected of me when I got home. You come in with a bad grade, you got to hear about it. So I always was got to have a great report card. Got to set the example for my brothers and sisters. So I always had that burden, kind of, that way. But then also, as you get later down in life, those things that you learn, they actually help you. So,
Right.
It sets the groundwork for, like you said, being, strong in your convictions, being able to do, set the groundwork for just being a good person, being a good leader, being a good business person.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, college and.
Yeah, so I went to August Martin High School, which was an aeronautical school, and I thought I was going to be an aeronautical engineer. All of us thought we were going to be aeronautical engineers in the 80s. So I graduated from high school in 1981, went to LaGuardia Community College for 1 year. That year, President Reagan fired a lot of the air traffic controllers. So that had a ripple effect through the aviation industry, and by the time my first semester was over, what were we going to do? So a lot of us just changed our major. I became a business major, and once I applied to St. John's University. I went to St. John's 8 years at night, got my associates in finance and my master's in business. And just being in that environment, being in the business environment, that just sparked my juices. St. John's has done a lot for me. A lot of people in New York that went there. Every business that I worked for, there's always someone that was above me who was a St. John's graduate or St. John's alumni. So I just loved it. And then going to St. John's, I was able also to work at a bank. So I always worked in banking all the way through college, and the banks would always pay for me to go to college. So I never had to pay for any student loans. I would just put the money out, get good grades, they give it back, and just keep going for the next 7, 8 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it
gives you a lot of great life experience, employment experience before you even graduated.
Right, exactly. That was all throughout the whole time that I was going to college. It was part of my makeup. I'd work 2 jobs to go to school, so in order to pay for college myself. Now I put myself to school. My parents couldn't afford to give me money because there were 6 of us, small household, and most of the income up until that point was from my stepfather, and so I felt that burden to always take care of my own bills, all my own responsibilities. I've been working since I'm 14. How I even got into banking is even funny, because I used to work at a gas station in Springfield, and back then gas stations, you would pump somebody's gas, you check their oil, you check their tires and whatever. So there was this lady who used to come in all the time, and I would always give her really good customer service. And she said, you always speak with manners, you always have a nice demeanor. You're probably good in banking. So at 18, I applied for a job at Long Island Trust, and I got the job right away. And just from there, I went from bank to bank to bank to bank, developing my skills, and so that's how I got into banking. That's how I got into business, really.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, as we were discussing prior to the podcast, it seems like there is a bunch of consistent traits within your life, right? And one of the consistent traits that I've noticed is kind of not wanting to settle, just for whatever you got. Like, you constantly looking at a opportunity or an option to better your life, right?
Sure, absolutely.
I mean, do you, again, just coming back to this, maybe it was your tiger mom mother that's like, hey, don't settle for just a 90, go for 100,
absolutely,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what happened in banking at this point? Like, did you continue to hop around banking and transit into real estate, or did you move up?
So I started as a teller, and I just worked my way up through all the banks. I worked for, Chase and Chemical and Northwood Bank, Capital One. I worked for all really, really big banks. And each time I would go up, or each time I would leave, go from one bank to another bank, I'd get a nice bump in salary. because banking only give you 2% or 3% raise. That's nothing. So in order to make a nice incremental salary increase, you have to go to another institution. But also each time when it was a title upgrade, I go from teller to customer service to assistant manager, vice president, and on and on and on. And I just basically I did retail banking, so I work with customers. So you learn customer service skills. You know how to talk to people. You know how to have empathy. You know how to I worked in some really high net worth areas. I worked in Forest Hills. I worked in Valley Street. So I worked in areas where people have money. So you learn how. They give you tips also, so that you get tips from them. You learn how to manage your finances. You know how to talk to people. How to manage. I mean, I've managed thousands of people. I mean, interviewed and managed. My bank for thousands of people. It was just all part of the final product that you see today. I mean, it was always something, always striving for more. I originally came from Brooklyn, and we would just, always wanted something more, always wanted something better, always wanted to be able to.
Hustler.
Yeah,
right? Like
you have to.
Hustler mentality.
Yeah, hustler mentality. Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. That was exactly how I would clarify. Yeah. And it's why not? Why should I not? Why should we not have the best? Why should we not try to do as much as we can? As much, and but also give back along the way. And just always was just striving to really be just a good person, a provider, and take care of myself, my family when I was married and things like that. So.
Yeah, I just want to stress the importance, like not settling is so important.
Yeah, never giving up. Yeah,
not settling for whether it be your position in life, whether it be your grades, whether it be work, whether it be a home, whether it be a car, et cetera, right? Because because constantly striving for more and for better, even if you don't get it, right? You're getting closer to it, and you'll see benefits. What is the word? It's like you shoot for the stars, and even if you don't get it, you get to the moon.
Exactly.
But you want to continue to keep going.
That's correct. Yeah,
so there's like a value definitely that we can gain here. Is definitely continue to strive for the best.
Yeah, it's like I was saying to you yesterday. It's being consistent. Constantly striving, being consistent. And if it doesn't work out, that's fine. You tried it. It didn't work out. You either continue on that path or you deviate and go to something else. But you just keep moving. You've got to be constantly moving. If you become stagnant, you don't move. You don't grow. As a person, or even professionally. Some people just go to work and collect a paycheck. I was never happy with that.
Yeah.
I was never ever happy with that. Yeah. So.
Now, at what point from these positions of banking, at what point did you say, hey, I'm gonna try, get my feet into real estate or?
So in my last year of banking, which is probably like around 99, 2000, I was a branch manager. I actually was managing 2 branches of Northwood Bank in Valley Street, and always top producer. We were always all my branches. We would always get trips and whatever incentives the banks were giving us.
I think you were the youngest, also vice president, was it?
In Citibank at the time.
Oh, wow.
In Citibank at the time, that back in the 90s when I got my promotion. So yeah, because I had done so much, I had been on all these different teams, all these different groups, and people recognize you when you're a good hard worker. And so I was able to get those type of recognitions, and so I was able to move up. But in the transition from banking to being my first really entrepreneurial, getting my feet wet, in a fast food restaurant was. I worked at the bank, and I just had a manager that was a little difficult. Well, she's not even a little, very difficult. He didn't understand the process of how to grow a bank, but he was in charge. So we always were top performers, and I just started getting tired of it. So back then we had 4 weeks vacation. I took one of my weeks of vacation. One of my friends said, you'd probably be a good real estate agent. All right, let me give it a try. It was 35 hours of instruction at the time. Now it's 77 hours of instruction. I took the test, passed it my first time. A lot of people don't pass it the first time. And from there, I signed up with a company out here in Bayshore, Kennedy Long Island Realty. And within my first month, I had my first sale.
Wow!
And from there, I was hooked. You get that adrenaline. It's you get that rush. From helping people, from going out, showing houses, from seeing different things, and from there it just has snowballed into eventually I became my own broker, and then I had my own company.
It's definitely a interesting, I'm sure, euphoric feeling where it's like you did it.
Yes.
You know,
Right.
Was it a listing or that?
It was someone else's listing, but I sold it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you sold it. It's like you did it. You know, and you made the connection. You closed on the deal.
Right.
And without you,
Right.
somebody else would have done it.
Someone else would have done it.
But you did it.
And I was green. Like it was like really my first or second week. I got the lead from the broker, and he said, this customer wants to see this house. No problem. I was, I made myself available that evening, and I worked both jobs for a while. I did the restaurant for a while, and did real estate, and I also was doing the banking. So I was working 3 jobs. I was killing myself.
Wow. You worked at a restaurant. Jeez.
Well, I owned the restaurant. So
you had Pudgy's open at that time.
Yeah, Pudgy's. Yeah. We had a 5-year commitment. We were doing that. So I was kind of doing all 3 things at the time, and something had to give. So I finally said, to the bank, said, what, I'm going to leave. And they didn't really dispute. They were probably glad that I left because I wasn't really happy, and they weren't happy. And so so I did the restaurant for a while, and then we came to a point where we had our lease was just about to be up, and
well, let's talk about Pudgy's.
Yes.
Talk about again coming back to this idea that hey, you're always looking for a better opportunity,
sure,
never settling,
right.
And then suddenly this opportunity came up to purchase the franchise, right?
Yes.
Open up your own
restaurant. We purchased
Right. So talk a little bit about that, and what happened.
So I was married at the time. My ex-wife had 2 daughters. So I used to call them my daughters. And we lived in Islandia, and Islandia has this huge strip mall, and that everybody pretty much knows that they live in the area. And they had a Pudgy's there. There was already an existing franchise. The guy wanted out, and I went there one day, and I bought chicken for dinner, and we started talking because I'm always very social. I always like to talk to people, and sometimes people just see my face and they just start talking to me for any reason. So the guy and I, we struck up a conversation, and then he mentioned that he wanted to sell it. So I mentioned to her, that this student wants to sell his business. We went through all the training. We put a lot of money out of our 401ks, our retirement plan, and we purchased this franchise. And then after everything's done and set in stone and everything, and we're owners, my ex-wife decided that she didn't want to be an owner. She didn't want to have to deal with restaurants. She didn't want to deal with the staff. We had only been in business about maybe 2 weeks, if it was that long.
Wow.
Because she used to be in banking also, but she worked in a totally different division than I did. And so now we have this restaurant, and we have a 5-year commitment.
That must have been a strain on the relationship, huh?
It was a strain on the relationship. But we stayed married for many, many years after that. But I was doing the restaurant. I was doing the bank, and then toward the end of my bank career, I got my real estate license. So I finally left the bank, went into Pudgy's, and we worked there for 5 years. I owned it for 5 years, and that it was always my dream to actually own a restaurant. That is no longer my dream. It's 24/7, 365. Food business is very, very tough. I respect people who own restaurants, who work in the food business. It's one of the toughest jobs that you could possibly have.
Yes, for our listeners, by the way, I'm going to have some restaurant owners on the podcast soon. Yeah, hear how difficult it really is.
It's nuts. Unless you have someone to be supportive, you can never really take time off. Mm-hmm. It's a cash business, so you can never trust people. People, they'll steal your blind, they'll steal your cash, they'll steal your product. But one of the things about Pudgy's is it was a very good brand. It was just poorly run by the people who owned it. So it was Pudgy's, Arthur Treacher's, and TCBY. So it was like a tri-brand type of business that we owned. And the chicken is the best chicken. It's skinless. So I'd be there 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, skinning chicken and cleaning it to make sure. Cause I would go to Extra just to make sure the chicken was clean. What other companies do, how they prep their chicken, I can't talk about, and I don't want to talk about. But I know that even today, if I see a Pudgy's and I just happen to be driving, there's only a few left on Long Island, I'll stop, I'll go and grab a box of chicken and eat it later or whatever, because I know that the chicken's clean, the quality's good, the breading is good. It's just a good chicken. It's just good chicken. So like I said, we did that. Arthur Treacher's also another good company, another good brand. Their fish and chips are phenomenal. And then TCBY. So and that also probably after that 5 years of owning a restaurant probably also added to some of my health issues later down the road.
Right.
Because I wasn't eating well.
Well, let's talk about Pudgy's. I mean, at this point, you had owned the franchise. You said 5 years.
5 years, yes.
And at some point, you said, hey, I'm assuming it was a drain area. It drained financially, right?
It was drained.
Not just financially, your health, your mental health, right? to a point where you said, "Hey, I gotta walk away from this."
Right.
I mean, can you talk a little bit about?
Yeah, so it became a strain in all those aspects, in every aspect of my life, because it became something like it originally was my dream, but then it became something like a burden, like an anchor. You know, I couldn't just close the doors and walk away. We had staff.
Yeah.
We had responsibilities to the landlord. We were paying a lease, and the lease was, the lease payments kept going up every 2 years, and so.
I must have been so shocked. I can imagine, because as an elder sibling, an elder child,
right.
out of 6,
right.
always thinking about caring for your younger siblings,
right.
and I would think, this kind of translates to your leadership quality, always
right.
caring for.
Yeah.
This must have been crushing for you.
It was probably
staff under you, and you had to. Right?
Yeah. Well, you have a staff. Most of them were teenagers, and younger adults. So you're providing that type of business. You're providing income for them. And even with this business now that I have, I could probably be successful. Not probably. I could definitely be successful on my own, and maybe have just a small team. Maybe I have one person, but I have agents that work under me. They depend on me for leads, for guidance, for training, for other things that they wouldn't probably get at other brokerages.
Right. Again, carrying that elder brother type of mentality,
Always.
right?
Always.
But yeah, let's come back to this. So at this point, with Pudgy's, you said, "Hey, I can't take this anymore."
Yeah, so we ended up having to sell the. We sold the franchise at a loss. And it took a while to get back on your feet financially from that, because you're doing that. You're also doing some stuff at home, and then you're just getting started into real estate. So
yeah, and please, for our listeners, I mean, this is for many business owners, many entrepreneurs. This is it, right? Many entrepreneurs, they walk away and that's it.
They walk away.
Forget entrepreneurship.
That's right.
I'm just gonna go back to 9 to 5.
And a paycheck, yes.
Exactly, But talk about that. Like, how did you bounce? What was it that the secret sauce in that situation that helped you bounce back? That say, hey, I'm not only gonna pick myself back up from the bootstraps, but I'm gonna potentially start another business.
Right. Well, I was already thinking as I was in the process of leaving Pudgy's, I had already got my license to become a realtor, so I knew I wanted to do real estate. I wasn't sure how successful I was going to be in it. I mean, people, they think that real estate is glamour. They watch the reality shows and stuff. That's just
scary.
It's nothing like that. It's you're working a lot of hours. You're like the postman. You're in the rain, the sun, the snow up to your knees, the ice. You're driving around. We used to take people in our cars. We no longer do that because of liability reasons. Also, everything now. We used to have phone books that we have to look up the listings. Now everything's internet based. So it's this is my 20th year in real estate. So it's changed tremendously from what it was in 2003 to what it is now in 2023. It's just night and day, really.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, would you say that, it was a drive, to continue to be your own boss?
Yes.
Yeah.
After I left the bank, I was determined to never work for anyone else again. I don't, and I have a lot of friends that do, and I respect, what they do, because everybody's got to do something. But it's, most of my friends that complain about their job, they don't leave the job because of the job. They leave because of a manager. They leave because of a supervisor. Someone who just doesn't get it or is micromanaging them or treating them bad. That's usually why they leave a job, unless it's for a better job or more money. That's usually why people leave their job. I mean, there's so many people that when they watch it, they'll say, "Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, my boss is what." But that's not how it should be. So I always take that with me. So I treat my people well. We have team meetings, we have team outings. I've always been the type of person that's make myself available. So people feel like you can come to them with a problem, with a situation, that they're not by themselves, that they just that they feel seen, that they feel heard, and that's kind of what most people want in their job. They want to feel seen, they want to feel heard, and that their voice matters.
It's almost like almost like a human need, anyways. Like, it's not necessarily just professional.
Sure, exactly, right.
It's just
people want to be seen and heard. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's right.
People want to be seen, heard. Felt like they are understood.
Correct.
And not just rolled over type of a.
Right.
Right. So so then at this point, you said, hey, there's no way for you, at least.
No.
You're gonna go back to 9 to 5.
No way to go back to 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And I've been in some situations financially where it was tough. rent, when mortgages, you get behind your mortgage, you have to catch up, and because this is a cash business, so it's not consistent. So you gotta put in the time, you gotta put in the work, because this is not. There's no paycheck every week unless you set up the business that way. Like I do, I set up the business to have a salary now, but in the beginning there wasn't. It was commission based, so you have. You were only getting what you put in and what you put into the business, or what sales were available. So this is 2003. I've seen 3 or 4 different markets. I've seen a buyer's market several times. I've seen sellers market several times. I've seen a recession. I've seen the market collapse. I was also a mortgage broker at the same time that I was doing real estate in 2000, from 2004 to like 2006. I was a mortgage banker. I was doing real estate and mortgage banking at the same time. So I did very good during those years. But that was also the years that the market was a little crazy, and so people, you could see the value starting to go up, and then all of a sudden the collapse. You had that collapse in 2006 or 2008. If you weren't doing financing at that time, you have no idea how bad that was.
Well, I wanna meditate a little more on your decision making, because up until now, post college, it's like of course you're a go getter. You don't want to settle for the best, but it's like you're dabbing your feet in all these different industries, and for our listeners who may be a little reserved about trying new things, would you say that it's a risk and reward type of an analysis that you make, and how do you go about making these kind of decisions? I think this is something definitely that's valuable, because there's people that are stuck in their own mind, that they don't want to get out of their comfort zone. They want to keep doing the 9 to 5 because they're afraid, or like, what is your risk and reward analysis? How do you make this decision to say, I'm going to try these different things and take the chance?
Right. So basically, by going to St. John's, I had the basis. So I had the business basis, I had the financial basis. So the reason that I took those majors was because that can lead me to any number of industries. And it just so happened that the ones that I picked all happen to kind of be interrelated. So, from banking to the mortgages to real estate, even to owning the store, it's all interrelated. I basically, I would just take a situation and just look at it reasonably. What is the return by me investing all this time, investing all this money? What's the risk? What's the and do an assessment and just say, sometimes it didn't work out. Many times it didn't work out. When I sit down and I do a budget now, I usually do my budget in October for the next year coming up in my real estate business. We have to look at the marketing that we have set up. How did it work? Is it effective? Is it giving us the leads that they promised? A lot of these companies don't. Is it can we grow from that, or is there something we can tweak to make it even better? And a lot of times we can always make it better.
Right. And for our listeners who don't know what the risk and reward assessment is, it's basically making a decision based on the amount of potential risk of failure, right? It's not working out, right? But if you're successful, you get a reward, right? And the idea is that the greater the risk, ideally, right? The greater the risk, the greater the reward that you get. And the lower the risk, the lower the reward, right? So there is it's a business strategy, right? Risk and reward assessment. And Jim, you constantly assess this
always
and all the decisions that you make and
everything. Even on a daily basis. Someone will call me and say, they want me to buy a product. Okay, well, is that going to be good for my business? Is it going to be good for my team? What's going to be my return on investment? Those things factor into almost every decision that we make. And then usually on a quarterly basis, I will take my budget and see what we can tweak. As we have subscriptions, as subscriptions are due to expire, do we need to keep this company on? Do we need to keep this vendor on? And we're constantly tweaking. So it's a constantly moving target. It's never stagnant. It's consistent. We have to be flexible. We have to make sure that we're doing the right thing. Personally, for myself, financially, for the team, because when you, as a real estate broker, every time we do a transaction, at least 7 other industries are affected. You have attorneys, you have title people, you have landscapers, you have moving people, you have all these different industries that flow into a real estate transaction. And so I'm proud to be part of that cog in the wheel, because without me, other things don't happen. Attorneys don't work, people don't move from place to place. So
it's a great.
I think that we're gonna, I think we're gonna be here for a long, long time. Even though the internet is strong, they still need the human person to actually interact and negotiate and do things like that. So.
Yeah, I think for the outsider, when they look in at all these amazing experiences that you do, I mean, for you, it's probably, hey, I just do it, you know. But I think for the outsider, it's like, wow, Jim did all these things. But know that Jim didn't just blindly do things. Like Jim took calculated risk.
Correct.
And through research, through understanding what he's getting himself into, lowering the potential risk, right, of a failure, right. So it's something to think about. If for those of you that are thinking about trying something new, don't really know what to do, and it's not blind. Jim's not doing this blindly. Jim is taking calculated risks.
No, and I always look to other people. I've had mentors. I've been a mentor, and it doesn't hurt to ask. I mean, the internet is a good source of information, but you need to speak to someone who's doing it on the ground, who's in the industry. Speak to someone. Don't just because and speak to someone who's really doing it successfully. Because someone will say, "Oh yeah, we're doing great," and if you look at their numbers, they're not doing so great. Or someone will say, "Oh, don't get into that business." They'll try to discourage you. Could be for any number of reasons. They're not happy with their particular situation. They don't want more competition. I mean, just whatever it happens to be. But so you really have to do your own research, do your own due diligence.
And as far as asking people, I mean, you can hear it from Jim. Like Jim is a very personable, guy, and it pays to be a good person. It pays to be personable. Get out of your comfort zone a little bit, because you never know, the person that you meet could be the person that gives you valuable information because they're in a particular industry. So something to definitely think about.
Absolutely. One of the things that we do at the church I used to go to, Swiss Time Gospel Tabernacle, we used to have like a 2-minute meet and greet. So right after they do the worship, team would stop, and then people, they would have like a 2-minute, and they would say, they make you get out of your seat and go introduce yourself to someone. So when I go to networking events, I always do that. I always have a pocket full of cards. I never forget my business cards. I'm always with my business card. Even if I'm just walking around my complex, my business cards are in my wallet, and my wallet is in my pants. I always have my business card, so I can always just give it out. Even if I can't talk to that person right then and there and give them my full attention, call me. I'm available. Text me. I'll call you back. Go on my Facebook page. Go on my social media. You can see what I'm about. And if you want to know more information, give me a call. That's what I tell people.
Right. So talk to us about the transition from being a realtor under a broker to now saying, hey, I'm going to take this huge leap now. Despite, my past, and all the other stuff that I went through, I'm going to now take a leap and start my own business again. So to talk about that, like how, we talked about the risk and reward assessment, but then it's like, you need some cojones, right?
Sure.
To do this again.
Right.
Talk about that.
So as I was a realtor and I was training under other people, I was always taking in everything like a sponge, just absorbing. And my experience in the bank also helped me with the experience being a realtor and also being a mortgage banker as well, because it's all about organization. It's about consistency. It's about not selling. It's about asking advice of other people. Also being humble and being able to sit back and take in the information, take criticism, and learn from all those things. So when the opportunity presents itself, you're ready. I was when I sold enough houses to become a broker, I was ready to jump in and own my own place. I just had to find the right setup. I worked with maybe 2 or 3 brokers before I actually opened up my own in 2009. And since 2009, I haven't looked back. Complete Home Realty is taking, as we've been growing, several of the bigger companies have tried to merge with us. The Signatures, the Caldwell Bankers, the Exit Realty, the Keller Williams, they've all come knocking at my door to say, would you like to merge with us? And so far, none of them have been the right fit.
Yeah, I mean, and this actually, it makes sense because it's consistent with who you are, right? You like the entrepreneur lifestyle. That you're your own boss.
I'm the boss, exactly.
Yes, you don't have to answer to anybody, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah, you make your own hours.
I answer to the person in my head.
Oh, yes.
And that's the
yourself.
Person, yeah, I answer to myself.
Right.
And sometimes you have to be candid with yourself. Are you doing the best that you can do? Are you making good decisions? Sometimes take a step back and just not do anything and just see what happens. My team will tell you I'm very even keel. I don't go up and down when problems happen with the deals. They always work themselves out. if I have to step in and be aggressive, I do. People call me a hammer, say that, but I do it softly. I'm never nasty with people. I'm never overly aggressive. 'Cause this is a small business, even though it's big. All the good people know each other. All my friends, everybody that I deal with, everybody knows each other, and so it's silly to burn a bridge, or create an enemy. And I don't see my other fellow realtors as competition. Everybody's got a niche. Everybody does something. Whether they work at big companies, independents like myself, or everybody's got a niche. And I salute them all. When they have a sale, or when they have a listing, or they have a closing, we all salute each other, and I think that's great.
Yeah. Again, I think that's a testament to the kind of guy that you are.
Yeah.
A good guy.
I love
good, honorable guy.
Yes.
So let's talk about the even keel. Like, how did you come about in being so even keel? Because you weren't always like this.
No, I was not. No, in my younger days, I was what they call a firecracker. I only knew one way, just to be hard. And I had a life event. Where I ended up losing both my kidneys on one day on June 6, 2013. I wasn't feeling well. I was supposed to go to the doctor.
And maybe it's because maybe the lifestyle at the time that led up to it wasn't like you were eating healthy.
Well,
was it?
Well, you think that you are, but you're not. My kidneys, I had chronic kidney disease, CKD,
wow.
and it was from hypertension.
Oh, geez.
So
stress maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And I can see if I go back in my life, for the time I was a kid, always being, just feeling that burden of always having to be perfect and be get an A and be aggressive. So those things build up over time, and you internalize them. Mm-hmm. So you have to learn how to not internalize those things. Sometimes you gotta know how to say no, and I did. I learned how to say no. And then with the chronic kidney disease, I ended up on dialysis. So
for our viewers that don't know what that is,
yes.
It's when your kidneys aren't cleaning out. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. When they're not cleaning out your blood, so you
they're
have
not filtering.
They're not filtering it.
They're not filtering the toxins out of your body. Yes.
So you have to go and get hooked up onto a machine to clean to serve the function of your kidneys.
That's correct. Right. I was doing that 3 times a week for 4 hours.
4 hours a day.
Each time.
Wow.
Yeah.
What time did they start?
I would go like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh
because I was working. So
right.
I had this business. This was 2013, so I was already 4 years into complete home realty.
Right.
And so I would go on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, or Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, depending on how they would schedule me. And I would go for 4 hours, and basically you're just there with yourself and the nurses, and a room of people. And during that time, I really learned to. I became more connected to my faith. I learned how to be more patient. I learned how to listen to people.
Well, why? Why the mind shift?
Because I found what I was doing wasn't working. Wasn't how I needed to be living, and I think I just got the word from God. I said, hey, you need to change some of these things about how you're doing your life right now.
Yeah, because the definition, and not my quote. I don't remember who said this. Was it Albert Einstein or
yeah, I forget who said it.
But like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again and again.
Right.
And expecting a different result.
Exactly.
So for Jim, you had a mind shift where, hey, whatever I'm doing is not physically helping me.
No, it was.
So you tried something new. Again, constantly coming back to this risk reward assessment, right?
You have to be honest. You have to be honest with yourself. You have a team of doctors, and they're saying you need to do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And I was compliant. I did everything they told me to do, and then some. Because going on the I had to go on the transplant list. In New York at that time for my blood type O positive, it could have been 7 years.
Wow.
And there's still people I know that were there when I was there that are still there. And because of their age now, they can't get a kidney transplant. But I was lucky. I was in my 40s, so I was probably one of the younger people there, and everybody else was 70s, 80s, 90s, 90-year-old people getting dialysis. But I was lucky enough, that I got the opportunity to change my life for the better.
Wow. And
so I did, and I still, you still have things where you don't eat well this day, but the next day you pick it up, and so because we're not perfect beings, and but I do try to be consistent with what I'm doing. I exercise as much as I can. Sometimes it could be more. I could. I do eat very, very good though. I cook at home. I love to cook. Everything. No salt. No sugar.
You have some for it.
That's important. I had to make a total lifestyle change.
Yeah.
Total.
So, was there ever a moment when you were going through the dialysis where you said, "That's it, I'm gonna close shop," and or I'm not gonna be as present anymore in the office?
Never.
So you basically during the dialysis, it was business as usual, and you continued working.
Yeah, I worked all throughout dialysis. There was I went 3.5 years.
3.5 years on dialysis.
There was maybe once or twice that I didn't feel like coming to work. Every time after dialysis, I go from 5 to like 8:45. I pick up a breakfast sandwich on the way to work to get my protein. I come in my office by 10 o'clock. My energy's back, and I'm ready to go and start the day. And I work till 6 or 7 o'clock sometimes. And if I need to work, if I felt a little bad, I need to leave early, I would. But I worked every day.
Right, and the thought again never came to your mind to stop, lower your hours, or to even close shop.
If anything, I pushed harder because you have more bills now because you have the medicals, the medicine. But also, I wanted to do as much as I could in the time that I had left. You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, when I was first diagnosed, I could have died. I'm not supposed to be here. I mean, the doctor was telling me. I remember I could have died that day, and then I could have died another time. When I fell out in my property for a friend.
That's right. That's right. So talk about that. What happened?
Yeah. So when I found out the day that I had my kidney failure, my blood pressure was 260/140, and I went to the city MD because my doctor wasn't available, and the doctor said, "I don't know why you're here, but you need to go see a cardiologist." I called my cardiologist. He said, "Don't come see me. Go right to the hospital." And I was there for like 41 days. And then when I got out of the hospital about 2 weeks later, I had a medical complication. Like they gave me medication that conflicted with each other. And I was coming back from church, and I got out of the car, and I just passed out right in the driveway. And if my friend in my neighbor had not seen me, I would not be here today.
Wow.
And so I ended up in ICU for like another week or so. But since then, other than small surgeries, that I've had, I've been pretty decent, pretty healthy. I mean, I fractured my elbow. I've had 4 surgeries on my elbow. I mean, I've had a lot of other surgeries, but each time I bounced back. I worked all those times. I never stopped really to work. Even when I got my transplant, the very next day, I had my laptop in the bed with me, and I'm working on a deal. And I have a really good support team. That's in life. That's what you need. You need a good support team. People who can say good stuff to you and bad stuff to you, and you can receive it.
Professionally and personally?
Professionally and personally, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And that same team is counting on you at that time, right? And would you say that maybe is something that kept you going?
Definitely.
That big brother, coming back to this again, that big brother mentality that, I'm not just going to leave you out to dry because,
I'm not going to close up shop.
We are tied together through whether it be work or even, family, right?
Exactly.
And
well, all my vendors have become my family. Right. All my attorneys, my mortgage people, everybody has become my family. When I had my transplant, the attorney, the paralegal that works for my attorney, she took all my deals and she worked them. So I never lost commissions. I never missed deals. And then I can always go to the closing. They would collect my check and they would mail it to me, or I'd go pick it up. And so
there's a give and take relationship here that I think it's important to talk about, because it's like because you're such a great guy that is so supportive of just people in general.
Yes.
And it's just you receive what you give out, right?
Absolutely. Right.
Because the more positivity, the more hard work that you do, the more people want to do the same back for you, right?
Right, without any reservation, absolutely. Yeah. I never put out to expect something back, but you always get it back. Whether it's you helping someone, whether it's business related or even on the personal side. We do a lot of donations. We get a lot of charities. From Complete on Realty. Usually, probably I would say out of almost every closing that I do personally myself, probably about 5% goes to different charities. Whether St. Jude's or National Kidney Foundation, or there's a there's a not-for-profit here in Long Island, Lighthouse Mission that we, So we're always doing something to give back to the community, and it always comes back to us.
So the community is great, But I want to say, your team, that relationship that you built, again, Jim's not that kind of a boss where it's like you're working for me, and you're gonna do this for me, period. No, there's like there's a tie almost, like there's a relationship that we built of, hey, I'm gonna support you. and it'd be great if you can help me,
Right.
because it's like a partnership.
It's a partnership, exactly.
You know,
Absolutely.
which is another business,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
strategy, right?
it's respected. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's
helping each other constantly, right, and doing right by people.
Exactly.
You know, I think people think of successful entrepreneurs as like, you know, kind of hidden in the shadows, sneaky, and like ripping people off. No, I find that people that are successful are people like you, where they are just so giving and open and supportive, and it just comes back.
Well, one of the things that I tell my agents, the first thing that they sit down is that it's about giving back, but also we're not here to do one transaction. We're here to establish relationships. Once you establish relationships, you get the referrals, you get the business. People don't just call me just for real estate stuff. They call me for other things. You know a good contractor. How are you? People just call me. How are you doing today? You know, if my customers know my walk, you know, because I usually share it with them. I usually tell them about my kidney walk, and even though I'm past the dangerous part, you know, I'm almost 7 years out of transplant. I still share with them, so just to let them know, you know, what I've been through. Some people they need to see other people that have gone through things just to realize that sometimes life isn't that hard.
Right.
And by sharing my story with people, a lot of people just call me for out of the blue for no reason. It has nothing to do with real estate or whatever, just other stuff, life stuff as well.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to add on. Like, I think, you know, not that experiences are necessarily easy, but sometimes the solution to experiences are simple.
Right.
It's hard, but it's not
Sure.
necessarily. It's the idea to solve it is simple, but it's hard for people to actually do it, right?
Yeah.
So it was a miracle that, you know, you found a match for your kidney.
Yes.
And I think so talk a little bit about that. Like,
right. So we were going on like the 3.5 year mark, and I was actually very tired. Right around the time that we found the donor, I was, for some, you know, your body goes through cycles and things like that, and I was really tired, and got a call like on a Sunday night, like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Who was calling me 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning? It was a number I didn't recognize. Because I was my donorship was through Stony Brook University out here, so I've been expecting a 631 number, if anything. I was getting a 516 number. They just kept calling me. So finally, I picked it up, and the guy was the coordinator who was coordinating to get my the kidney from upstate, from the deceased person down here. And so he said, well, we found a kidney. They explained to you about the kidney, about the person. The gentleman, he died in a motorcycle accident. I don't know who he is. He's anonymous, but he had a history of alcoholism. So I said, well, how's that going to affect me going forward? Said, it won't. I said, you never were an alcoholic. You don't drink alcohol, and they clean the kidney. Okay, let's go. So the next morning I went for dialysis. I told them I was getting a transplant, and then did whatever I had to do. I already had a bag ready just in case, you never know. And by that day, end of the day, on Monday, I got my transplant. And then as soon as I got it, you know, you start urinating and the kidney's functioning, and
wow.
You know, you go through a lot though afterwards, you know, because you have to stay close to the center. So that's why a lot of people go to other states to get transplants, but I stayed here in New York because my family's here, my team here, my support team is here. I couldn't go to Florida or Pennsylvania or whatever. I needed to be here, and my business is here, so I couldn't just, you know, stop what I was doing and just go to other states. So however long it was going to take, you know, God was in control, and I put faith in that, and so we got lucky. We got, you know, a kidney in 3.5 years, and you know,
right. And when was this? When you got the kidney?
2016, October 17th,
so
2016.
Very recently. Well,
2016. Yeah. So it'll be 7 years in October.
Right. Wow. So awesome. I'm very happy to hear. So from then to now, you know,
it's been everything's going pretty well. You know, we're doing the Long Island Kidney Walk here on May 21st in Belmont Lake State Park to help support the National Kidney Foundation, and you know, we're already doing donations and everything. So we're gonna have Duke's team will be out there.
Awesome. Which is the name of your kidney,
the name of my
right?
Kidney. Yeah. And the reason that you name it, whenever you get a transplant, or you know, it makes it more personal. It's like a person. You know,
right.
So I'm the host, but he's he's in charge, and you know
Duke's a fighting name, right?
Duke's a fighter, and it just makes it more personal. So you know, sometimes when you're in your own thoughts, you know, you talk, you know, hey, how's it going, Duke? You know, everything's, you know, so it's good.
So would you say, you know, leading up to now, would you say that your success was due to hard work, or was it luck? Was it a person? You know, what would you say, you know, is like secret sauce,
right.
Or what would you say, you know, helped get you to where you are now?
2 things. First thing is my faith in God. That is bar none. So without that, I'm nothing. And then second would be hard work. I don't believe in luck. Luck is chance. I mean, yeah, sometimes you may be in a situation where the right person notices you and I may assist you, but you had to do the work to be in that position. So I was always a hard worker. I'm always a hard worker. I'm always thinking, about work. Even if I go on vacation, I'm on vacation, but I'm thinking about, what can I do to make things better? How can I be a better person? How can I be a better leader? What can I do for my team to make it better so we're more productive? But I think hard work is the key. It's from my beginnings of, hard work with school, through college, through marriages, through entrepreneurial. I think it's the hard work.
Yeah. I love that. I'm a big believer personally of causality, right? Like your actions has a cause and effect, to it, right? And it seems like there is no substitution for hard work as far as creating opportunities for yourself. And as you had mentioned, even if you were at the right place at the right time, you had to get to that place, right? And what did you do to get to that place? That's, I think that's important. What work did you put in? How late did you stay up to research? Or how did you find out about this networking event to go and actually make that reality for yourself?
Make that connection, right? Exactly.
Yeah. So definitely get out there, to our listeners, get out of your comfort zone. And
that is so key, what you said right there, for people to get out of their comfort zone, to go out and do something different that you haven't done. Go to a networking event. If you're not in business and you feel like you're stuck, go do something that you wouldn't normally do. Challenge yourself. Make yourself uncomfortable. They say that in church all the time. Sometimes you got to make yourself uncomfortable to become comfortable.
Right.
And it's I didn't get that for a long time. And then as you start to do things, you see that by taking that little step of faith and do whatever, it mushroomed or multiplied into something else.
Right. Because a lot of times people, I think, misunderstand faith as blind faith, where it's just, I'm just going to do this and then great things are going to happen. No, it's actually, there's logic to this, right? Taking that challenge, taking that uncomfortable step is planting the seeds for you to get to the right place at the right time, to make things happen for yourself. And it's clear, Jim, that you planted these great seeds for yourself to get to.
Yeah, and we're just starting. Yeah, we're just getting started. I mean, and also this is one of those type of businesses where you don't have to retire early. My goal is to be a broker that is not always producing, to have enough people underneath me, to have a team underneath that. They're doing the good work, and then I can pick and choose who I want to work with. The best thing about being a broker is helping people, whether they're buying or selling. You're creating opportunities. You're creating generational wealth. You are creating home security for people. In the United States, there's so much home insecurity because of the prices and lack of inventory and discrimination and other things that go. So being part of that and being a minority owner also is very, very important to me. It's and that's probably why I haven't merged with other companies that are bigger, because I don't want to lose that identity.
Sure.
April is Fair Housing Month for realtors. My social media this month, that's all we've been focusing on, is just to get it out to let people know that there's programs. If you have some money, you can still buy a house. If your credit is not decent, we can help you get to that point. If you're looking to sell, this is the time to sell, because we don't know when the market's going to correct itself. So we're always educating people, and by educating people, we get the referrals, we get the calls, and whether they do it now, if they do it 6 months from now, when they called me, I said, "This is what I'm telling you to do." Now, if you don't do it, these are
right. Doing right by people. I mean,
always.
Again, it's a consistent theme. Doing right by people has that compounding effect. That's one of the things, right? Like for people that don't necessarily believe that hard work is planting the seeds for luck to happen, right? Get out of your comfort zone and do good for people, because it is planting the seeds.
And don't expect anything in return.
Exactly.
Just to get out and help people. That's just part of my DNA.
Absolutely. Although I do want to say, there is a return, but not necessarily from that person, but there is definitely
Absolutely.
a internal spiritual, return, right?
Correct.
Because it's, we're creatures of habit, and just being a good person, good things, and I believe that good things happen to
It
people.
allows you to sleep well at night.
Exactly. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I'm a good person, right? That's important. But Jim, I don't know how to better end this podcast than that, right? Thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast and sharing your incredible story. I think there's a lot of value that definitely our listeners can gain from this.
I hope so, yeah.
So I'm gonna definitely leave Jim's information in the description. So Jim's a super nice guy. If you're ever in town looking for a home, I'll definitely put that in there. The areas that you cover. And, seek out Jim. Jim's a great guy.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, Jim. Thank you so much. This episode is brought to you by Jing's Mortgage Team. Jing's Mortgage Team is a team of real estate mortgage professionals whose mission is to help anyone with their real estate needs. If you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, refinance your home, have credit issues, or in need of an investment loan, we can definitely help you. If you're looking for a real estate agent, we know the best of the best real estate agents. Visit the link below for more information.